Today, Japanese animation is highly developed, specifically categorized, and well known. Some people define it as amazing, while others judge and stereotype it as weird and strange because it's from a different culture. To others, that is anime's greatest appeal. Japanese animation is nicknamed anime, short for animation. Some people get confused on what exactly can be considered anime, and I wouldn't blame you. In Japan, anime refers to all films that are animated, but in the US and for this documentary, we are going to use the definition Japanese animation. But how did we, in America, get to know so much about anime and have it actually begin to seep into our pop culture? We have to thank the American anime fans in the 1960s for that. These people stood up to keep anime true to Japanese form in America instead of being tainted by American culture. Before getting to all that, we'll have to take a look back at how anime first began. Anime can actually be dated back to the 12th century in painted scrolls. These scrolls were meant to be read like comic strips, displaying sequences of events from right to left. Usually just the rich and noble had the benefit of reading these. Soon after, the ukiyo-e genre began to grow, and it mostly consisted of woodblock printing, which was easier to access and read by more common people. Moving on to the actual films, the oldest discovered anime was called Katsuro Sashin, made in 1906, and was a 3-second clip of a boy writing the words Katsuro Sashin, meaning moving pictures, and then turning towards the camera to tip his hat. This film was never meant for the eyes of the public, and the creator is unknown. When it comes to official animation, it can be traced back to 3 major men in particular. They are Oten Shimakawa, the first one to create an official animated feature film in 1917, Seitaro Kitayama, the watercolor artist who made a film based off the famous tale Battle of the Monkey and the Crab, and Koichi Junchi, a comic strip artist who was the creator of the 1917 film Namakuta Gatana. They are now known as the Fathers of Anime. These 3 fathers of Japanese animation paved the way for the anime world to grow. One of anime's biggest competitors, Walt Disney, released his first animated full film with sound in 1928 called Steamboat Willie. Since Japanese audiences have now been exposed to this, they were no longer satisfied with silent films. In 1935, a man named Kenzo Masaoka created Shigama Ando, which finally competed with Disney's sound including works in terms of visual and sound quality. Shortly after, the Japanese government began enforcing nationalism in the midst of World War II, and certain media was being censored. The government made strict requirements for films being published during this time, and many filmmakers felt trapped because they could only produce propaganda films. Once the post-war boom began, one man in particular stood out, Osamu Tezuka. Some people say that anime would not be the same as it is now without Osamu Tezuka. He is considered the god of manga and the godfather of anime. He worked with drawings and animation throughout his whole life and has been a fan of Walt Disney since a young age. He even incorporated the big eyes look from Walt Disney's Betty Boop along with other Disney characters, which is why we see so many large eyes in anime today. After he formed his own animation company, Mushi Pro, in 1961, Osamu Tezuka released one of his best-known films, Astro Boy, based on his own manga. Astro Boy was instantly a huge success and went on to be one of the first anime to ever be released in America, thanks to a man named Fred Ladd. At the time, no one in the US had ever seen anything like it. The names of the characters were changed for American tastes, along with several other things, such as storylines, to suit American audiences. Osamu Tezuka had to deal with frustrating US restrictions, but overall, the TV series went on to be one of the first popular anime TV series in America. Basically, it became the Pokémon of the 1960s. In the 1970s, anime was thriving in a worldwide sense, and at this point, it was beginning to turn away from simply being for children and started including adult humor. Americans found themselves with a hunger for more science fiction after Star Trek and Star Wars. Anime filled this need with Battle of the Planets and Star Blazers. Star Blazers had very few changes made to it, keeping the original content, which the fans loved. Battle of the Planets, on the other hand, was the opposite. Battle of the Planets was drastically altered, and much of the original Japanese violence was taken out. The growing mass of fans in America that watched and fell in love with Star Blazers began to seek out more of this Japanese style of animation, only to be frustrated by how difficult it was to find anime that had not been altered like Battle of the Planets was. After hearing a fan's thirst for more quality anime, one company, Harmony Gold, along with American anime pioneer Carl Macek, released Robotech in 1985. They had taken 3 very different original Japanese series and combined them, used lots of editing, and created the final, very successful product, Robotech. Critics and anime fans alike fell in love with Robotech, and even some of the original Japanese creators complimented Harmony Gold on creating such a successful series. Finally, there is another show as good as Star Blazers. The 1980s were a time of prosperity, and in the mid-80s, people were now able to attend official anime conventions and could interact with other anime fans besides the ones just in their local communities. The show that introduced most Americans into anime during this time period, besides Robotech, was the famed Akira, released in the US in 1989. It was so influential that critics today still call it one of the best animated films of all time. Still, much of the anime being released in America during this time was heavily edited. The 80s are considered the golden age of anime in Japan, but the real kickoff for anime in America began in the early 90s, after distributors stopped worrying about American audiences losing interest in something so obviously foreign. The Americans just discovering anime suddenly found themselves with a strange hunger for this new type of entertainment. And of course, the loyal fans were relieved. Some fans were upset that their strange hobby was becoming more common, but most were excited for their interest to be spread throughout their own country. Anime was just so unique compared to the cartoons aimed at kids during that time, people just couldn't look away. This huge anime boom lasted until about the mid-2000s, where it suddenly died off. But why? Well, one thing was that the distributors ran out of quality anime while releasing 5 to 10 episodes a week, and were left dry. Japanese companies were also demanding high prices, even though the boom was already dying off. Almost every American company went bankrupt, except for Funimation and Viz Media. Fans started losing interest after the quality of anime declined. Luckily now, the Japanese companies have learned from their mistakes and the anime market in America has balanced out. To this day, anime is still popular in America, seeing as how the anime distributor Crunchyroll has surpassed 1 million paying subscribers. After recent shows like Erased, Mob Psycho 100, and of course the ever so popular Yuri on Ice, anime is still gaining more and more popularity. Anime has even influenced American live-action movies, such as Pacific Rim and Transformers. Still, there are companies that wish to censor anime, but at least it's not as bad as before. As you have learned, historical events occurring during the same time as anime had major influences on how it grew. In addition, the anime artists, audiences' taste, governmental influences, and foreign films impacted anime's evolution. Anime also impacted history with its propaganda impact on Japan during World War II. 60% of the animation shown worldwide is from Japan, according to a report in 2005. This is just one example of how Japanese animation has grown. It has evolved over time with the advancements of technical improvements that allow higher definition. Anime's actual content has also grown with all of its expanded genres. Overall, anime is important because of its unique storytelling style and all the influences it has had on people all over the world. Anime gave people a reason to connect throughout different cultures, all because they are interested in the same Japanese style of animation. Many people have said that anime has helped cheer them up through difficult times, find an interest in a specific hobby, or simply help make a friend. It also gave people a passion to take a stand for the things that they enjoyed. Anime has helped so many people in many different ways throughout the world, and we will always be thankful to the creators of anime for bringing the world of Japanese animation alive.